Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Gadget Nation with me, Adam Carruthers here. And firstly, I would like to wish all those who are fasting selamat berpuasa from all of us here, not only in Gadget Nation, but also Astro AWANI. Now we've got plenty of great stuff happening today. We've got some apps to show you. We've also got some games all about Vikings and stuff. And have you ever thought about doing your own podcast? We're doing a lot of research and checking out some items, so I'm going to show you the bare basics of just how to do that. So let's start the show.
Acer Malaysia officially launched the much-awaited 2-in-1 notebook, the Acer Aspire Switch 10.
What is actually this really is a 2-in-1 hybrid tablet and PC at the same time. So if you can see, this is actually a touchscreen device where you can play around with the Microsoft Windows 8.1, right? And second of all, there's also a keyboard and a touchpad over here. Right? What is inside the keyboard? There's a USB port. There's also a built-in 500 gig hard disk. Yes, for the 500 gig hard disk, you can store a lot of things like your videos, your music. Right? The tablet itself, up here, the touchscreen here, the tablet has a 32 gig of memory. Right? So you can actually play around if you are on the go or you're going out of office and you don't like the keyboard, just plug this off, just like that, and you can use the device separately. Right? And it's also lighter to carry. We also have the Acer Iconia 1.7. There's a 7-inch device. Right? On the 7-inch tablet, it's very small and easy to carry. It's running on Android. Apart from that, it's also very slim, 8.9 millimeters. If you're looking for something slimmer and easy to carry, maybe for the ladies, right? They want to use it for casual browsing or Facebook, right? They can use the Iconia 1.7. Currently, it's running on KitKat 4.4 and has a 16 gig storage.
All new products are equipped with Intel's technology that runs impeccable with Windows 8. Nintology ASEAN launched its first LTE smartphone, the U9Z1T.
Yeah, the phone is actually 5-inch LCD, okay, HD IPS LCD. The best thing for these devices, they have a 4G LTE, okay, 13 megapixel, okay. So the best another thing which is that we are preloaded that local application, the content which is building by Nintology on the game mall.
The brand also launched its e-channel portal, established to increase services including exclusive deals, redemption and retrieval of Nintology's latest news and announcements.
You know, when I'm driving, one of the things I really like to do, listen to podcasts. You get to choose exactly what you listen to, pause it, fast forward, rewind, and keep yourself updated. And it really is something of a pleasure to use, especially given that, you know, our telcos here, the internet's pretty fast, so you can stream it. If you're at home, Wi-Fi, you can download it, etc., straight onto your mobile device. Or if you're at home or you're in the office, wherever, you can also download it onto your computer. Things like that. Really easy to listen to, really accessible. But how about making your own podcast for the entire world to hear? I've got the bare basic guide to help you get started.
A little more gold to Jamal Crawford.
Bledsoe.
Do you ever feel like you're being chased by a man who sells bananas? Is that a dream you've ever had?
That's her pay. Stacey Lewis, you're not. Crazy respect for you. You're playing great. You've been on a...
You know, I'm a massive fan of podcasts. I've been one for quite a long time. I enjoy listening to these football ones. It's a really productive way for me to kill time during traffic jams because I'm constantly driving from A to B to C to E and back around, etc. So, there's the football ones I listen to. Kevin Smith, the director, has now started a company in America where all they do is basically do podcasts, and he releases one every single day, but each one has effectively a different theme. One of them is just on Batman, and if you're a fan of that character, it's a fantastic podcast. That's just one example. There's so many out there. So obviously, it's a big, big market out there. And if you've ever thought about maybe doing your own podcast, I'm going to try and show you how. Now, the first step is to figure out what are you going to talk about. That's the crucial element. And once you've done that, Are you going to be doing it alone? Are you going to be doing it with other people? And then you move on to just preparing exactly what you're going to be talking about. Try to have a set order so week in, week out, whoever's listening to your show will know exactly what to expect. Obviously, the content itself changes if you're doing something in football, but they'll know the start of the show, you'll be reviewing what's happened, for example. The middle part will be looking at what's happening, and the third part could be people emailing or tweeting or leaving comments on Facebook. All of that creates structure to your show. Once all that planning is done, and I would say that 60-70% of your show is simply planning to make sure the show sounds good, to make sure the show sounds tight, is key and crucial to your podcast. Now, after all of that's out of the way, effectively it's almost like planning a TV show as well. You need to start thinking about the hardware side. Now, there's various options, so I'm going to try to guide you with some very basic elements. So when it comes to actually recording, quintessentially, you don't really need to spend anything. If you already have a smartphone, you could actually use that. If you have a laptop, you could use that. Obviously, the sound's not going to sound too great, so I thought I'll give you a couple of options with varying price points. Now, if you take everything that you see here, minus this right there, you could get everything for well under, say, 1,000 ringgit. This board right here could set you back around 400. The mics maybe 100, 150. If you get 2, 3, depending if you have guests and co-hosts, it's not too expensive, especially if you're going to be sharing the costs with other people. This device in the middle, if you're into the production and shooting YouTube videos and stuff, it might look familiar. It's actually a little bit more expensive, but it's almost got everything in one right there, and it's well over 1,000 ringgit. There's an updated model to this. So let me focus firstly on actually what I'm about to show you right here in the middle. This is made by Zoom. It's the H4n. Effectively, if you're really into shooting YouTube videos or movies, etc., and you have something like the Canon 5D, this is a great thing to use to double up, because you can use it to record whatever you're shooting as well. But it can also be used for other things like podcasts. You see we've got the 2 condenser mics right there, which are also great, but we've got the input right here for you to plug the microphone straight in and record. And obviously you have to understand how everything works here in terms of settings. Now, portability for this is great, but obviously the controls are not quite up to par to everything that you see there. But if your podcast requires you to venture out and have a little bit of fun, this would definitely be a very good option. If you're going to utilize this for podcasts with a group of you, plug your inputs in, USB it out right there onto your computer, and leave it in the middle and start recording. As simple as that, very easy to use and very portable. That's the biggest plus about using something like this. However, let's move on to the big boy right there. So what we have right here, the model I have, and it's about 400, 500 ringgit. So it's not too shabby at all. Now, obviously, it's much bigger than the H4n from Zoom that you can see right there. Now, this one is very simple. You just plug a power point into the back, plug it into the wall, and it's good to go. Now, the other reason why this entices me is similar to the H4n. This is also USB, so it's very easy to hook up to your computer and start recording. So the reason I like using this is because it's much easier to control everything. Obviously, this is fully engineered for the sound. Now, in case you didn't realize, I'm on radio, so I got a bit of experience with this, but a simple crash course online, I'm sure will be able to help you out as well, though it's pretty self-explanatory when you can see everything right there. Now, obviously, microphones, you're not going to be recording singing. So it's not so important you get those really fantastic condenser, this, etc. Just get something above the basics. Don't get the 30 ringgit ones. I would say 80 to 100, maybe 150 will be good enough for podcasting. Anything above that and you're thinking more along the lines of singing. Now, some of these mics don't come with the XLR cables. Some of them do, so just be wary of that. Make sure you got all your cables, but again, those things are cheap. You can get them anywhere. Now, all of this can actually be bought in some really good music stores around Malaysia. I just sourced for it online. I saw which was selling it, and I went and bought it myself. And like I said, the exception of the H4n, everything here, including 2 other microphones, set me back for well under 1,000 ringgit. So obviously not too expensive, especially if you're sharing. Now the other question is, once you've recorded, once you've got the hardware, what do you do next? So the question about what happens next is pretty simple. You have to get it onto the internet. You effectively have to create an RSS feed. My advice is you go to someone else that can host it. For example, WordPress will do it for free. Well, you can actually pay for the premium one as well, but there'll be some basic ads, but it's not going to hinder you in any way. In fact, if you have a WordPress account, you're effectively creating an RSS feed in itself. So WordPress, upload it onto there, create the RSS feed. Now, once that's done, it's pretty simple. You have to go and start submitting it, etc. To do so, go to something like FeedBurner, where you can effectively create the podcast. You go to FeedBurner, you say where the audio is, and it'll create everything for you. It's pretty simple, pretty effective to use, and I would probably have to recommend that over everything else. Also, price, great, it's free. After that, try submitting your podcast to iTunes, but just be careful, because with iTunes, they tend to be very, very, very strict on these rules. You really have to follow it to a T. If you've done just that, then you're good to go. So just remember, WordPress, start creating the RSS feed, then go to FeedBurner, direct it to the RSS feed. You have to create a logo. So think of something which isn't too big, not too messy, because it'll look very small on the phone. And remember to put a summary so people will know when they're searching for something like, I don't know, Batman. Then you'll see it in your summary, and then they want to take a listen along with the brief description. For the first couple of podcasts, get into the groove, just see how it goes. Make sure your friends download it. Make sure they tweet and Facebook about it, and maybe it'll start growing in itself without having to have paid adverts. I hope this has helped you in some level. I think podcasting is a great way to pass the time. It's a great way to share discussions with friends and to get involved. And there's a whole host of subjects you could choose from. Literally anything in the entire world. The choice is yours. And you can do it effectively for free. You can invest money into it. It's really up to you. And literally anybody can do it.